Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Deep Penetration Podcast. My name is Danny and I'm a love and self-esteem coach that works with the LGBTQ plus community. I work a lot with gay and bisexual men when it comes to all matters of self-esteem, individuality, self-acceptance, and really learning how to navigate and cultivate healthy, long-lasting relationships. If you have not yet, please make sure you are subscribing to the podcast, to the YouTube, wherever it is you are hearing or listening in or watching from, because it really helps with continuing to do this, right? Sit here, talk to you guys, have these conversations, and unpack certain topics that a lot of people don't really want to talk about. So, that being said, what is the topic for today? And we are talking about the difference between love and infatuation. Now, I know that this is just a generalized topic when it comes to the dynamics of chemistry and connection, right? So, just like in the queer community, the heterosexual community as well have issues differentiating between love and infatuation. But when it comes to that within the queer community, I always feel like there is a little bit more complexity when it comes to it because of our experiences growing up and our dealings with rejection and discrimination and judgment and criticism and marginalization and all of those things. So it's almost like the reason behind or the root of not truly understanding how to navigate the differences between love and infatuation are because of our individual subjective personal experiences, and then we come together as a collective group and we start to see these issues arise within relationships and dating and all of that, which is why I wanted to talk about the differences between love and infatuation in case you don't know the differences, right? So, love and infatuation are two very different experiences, which is why most people easily confuse the two, right? So trust me, I I completely understand. I have been there before myself. And while infatuation can be, super exciting and exhilarating, it's often based on very superficial qualities, and it doesn't necessarily have a foundation of like deep connection and commitment, whereas love on the other hand is a profound connection between two people that grows and deepens over a period of time. So, as a love and self-esteem coach who works with a lot of men within the LGBTQ plus community, I often see clients who struggle to differentiate between the two. So, for me, I believe that growing up queer, a lot of our experiences with love have been conditional. And I am very, very blessed that my family and my friends were very accepting and really never made me feel unloved after I told them. But the issue wasn't with them, right? It was with myself. I had come to believe that I was unlovable or unwanted and that I was generally speaking just a fuck up. So that belief resulted in years of self-esteem issues and insecurity issues that, to be honest with you, if I'm being very raw and vulnerable and real right now, that I'm still working through. I think a lot of the times people who become therapists and people who become life coaches and relationship coaches is because we all collectively share an experience that changed our lives, that changed our perception, that changed the way in which we view things. And there is a deep desire to try to, one, figure it out, right? It's almost like when you are going through school to become a therapist and stuff like that, it's like you're performing therapy on yourself, really. And that's not the case for every single person, right? Some people just have a genuine interest in the field and in the subject, but for a lot of the people that I've worked with and talked to, that is a very real experience. And we want to figure out what is essentially wrong with us. And once we figure it out, there's this desire and this need and this drive to teach other people what we have learned selves, right? So when I tell you that I still have insecurities and stuff that I'm dealing with, well, yeah, I'm human, right? I'm not some AI robot. Somebody in my comments said that I sounded or looked like an AI robot, which I will take as a compliment because those things are flawless. Well, some of them. Some of the ones I've seen are a little terrifying, but a majority of the ones that I've seen have perfect skin and all of that fun stuff. So I will take that as a compliment, but no, I am not AI. No, not AI. See, I'm not glitching, I'm not weird. I'm a person. I'm a real person here. Um so I have my insecurities. I have my issues. I have things that I still struggle with on a daily basis. I still question my purpose. I question my mission. I question what is life? What is life? I again, I'm human. I go through these things on a daily basis. Now, the difference is how we cope and how we deal with those things, right? So how I cope and how I deal with those things. And I have cultivated tools over the years and routines for myself that I know when something is up. So, for example, I won't even realize or recognize, and I'm totally digressing really quick, but just bear with me. I won't even realize or recognize that I'm going into a funk or a depression because I do suffer from seasonal depression. So needing to have very healthy routines is important for me. And I won't even realize that I'm going into a funk until I start watching Harry Potter reruns. And I know that sounds absolutely nutso and crazy. And it's not that, there's anything wrong with Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. Don't judge me. But there's almost like a sense of comfort to it, right? Because like I know what the storyline is. I know how it ends. And that has a lot to do with people who struggle with anxiety. There is, or depression. There is a comfort in seeing things or watching things that you already know what the outcome is going to be because it creates a sense of control, essentially. So when I start to watch Harry Potter reruns, I usually have to stop and ask myself, okay, check-in time, what's going on? Or number two, it's usually the holiday season and it has nothing to do with what's going on. It's just I like Harry Potter during the holidays. Anyways, so again, long way of saying I have my own personal insecurities. But the thing is, I've made a lot of progress. But again, there's still times that I have to check in with myself and do all of those things because I do get doubtful and antsy and all of that. So I mention conditional love because if we have been taught through our experience that love from others has strict limitations that is directly linked to our identity, our experience with love as adults will be untrusting and cautious, right? So, infatuation kind of allows us to experience the closest thing to unconditional love in a very compact period of time. So the loss is not necessarily as painful. Now, that does not mean that it doesn't hurt, but the level of investment and the connection that is formed wasn't long enough to result in any negative long-term effects. Now, granted, every single person is different and everybody has their own subjective experience, but that is what I have come to learn over my years as a coach and working with a lot of people who have been in short-term relationships that have ended and have expressed and experienced that excitement and that rush and that intense feeling of love in a very short period of time. But again, the long-term effects are not as intense as people who have built a very strong connection over an extended period of time. But again, that is subjective. So every person is different. For you, you still may be healing from a short-term relationship because maybe it was the healthiest, best relationship you've had. I'm just saying overall, right? So at the end of the day, regardless of your experience, love is scary. Love can be scary, and it involves opening yourself up to the potential of deep pain if the relationship does not work out. And if you have been building up your walls and your defenses over the years, letting them down leaves you exposed. But here's the thing. Love is also beautiful, and love helps you to grow. It tests your character and it makes you feel deeper than you have ever felt before. And if you are patient and allow yourself the opportunity to experience it, it can change your life, right? So the question then becomes, what is the difference between love and infatuation? And here it is, right? So infatuation essentially is characterized by an intense attraction to another person. So it's often based on like physical appearance or other superficial qualities. And infatuation can be incredibly intoxicating, exhilarating, and it feels like you're getting hit by like a million different emotions all at once. It's like the 0 to 100 approach of dating and is usually pretty short lived, right? So most relationships that are infatuation last anywhere between a few weeks to maybe 4 to 6 months, right? That's on the long end. So love, on the other hand, is a deeper, longer lasting emotional connection between two people and is built on a foundation of trust and respect and mutual understanding. Love requires time, it requires patience and an effort to grow and develop. So, unlike infatuation, love is not necessarily based on physical appearance or superficial qualities, but more so on the deeper connection and the shared values that you have with that person. Now, that does not mean that physical appearance doesn't play a role, because it does, right? That's a natural part of attraction, but it's not what's at the root. So, how can you tell the difference between the two, right? And one of the key differences between love and infatuation is the way it makes you feel. You know, like I mentioned before, infatuation can be exhilarating and exciting, but it can also be unstable and unpredictable. And there are usually a lot of intense highs and lows, which could potentially leave you feeling anxious and jealous and insecure. Um, Infatuation is also usually, uh, hmm, how do I put this? I don't want to sound, fuck it, whatever. It's a self-centered experience because you are more focused on your needs and getting what you want out of the relationship, right? So validation, sex, attention, whatever the case may be. Love is more stable and consistent emotionally. It can bring feelings of happiness and contentment and security, and it's less likely to be influenced by external factors. You know, love involves a level of commitment and responsibility to the other person, which does require sacrifice and compromise and willingness to put your partner's needs before your own. Now, I also want to clarify, when I say putting your needs before or your partner's needs before your own, I always talk about the need for boundaries and prioritizing your emotional and mental health. And I stick to that because that is a necessity when it comes to building a healthy, long lasting, long term relationship. But love requires sacrifice. And there will be times that you will need to put your partner's needs before your own. And the question at that point becomes, is it reciprocal? Right? So, is your partner doing the same thing for you when it is necessary, when you need it? Because if it's not, and it's all one sided, and you are the person who is always sacrificing and putting yourself secondary to his feelings, their feelings, whatever, then that's a different conversation, right? Then I think that requires some reflection and some reevaluation of the health of the relationship and the dynamic that you guys have going on. So, that being said, here are two things to look out for, right? And one way is to consider your emotional investment, right, you have in the relationship. Infatuation tends to be more focused again on the physical aspects of the relationship, right? While love involves a deeper connection. And another way, right, the second way to differentiate between love and infatuation is to consider the level of commitment and responsibility involved here. Love requires a willingness, like I said, to make sacrifices and to put the needs of your partner before your own sometimes, if it is reciprocal, while infatuation often is kind of self-centered and self-serving. It's important to note that both love and infatuation can both be positive experiences, right? Infatuation can be fun. It can be exciting. It can be the best part of the early stages of a relationship, while on the other hand, love creates a sense of security, stability, happiness, comfort. But it is still important to recognize the differences between the two emotions in order to build a healthy, long lasting relationship, right? So, as a coach, I often work with people who don't necessarily know the differentiation or the differences between the two. And one of the most important things I emphasize is the importance of taking the time to know somebody before committing to a relationship. Rushing into a relationship based on infatuation can lead to disappointment and heartache. While taking your time to build a deep connection can lead to a more fulfilling and lasting relationship. And I see this happen all the time in the queer community, where it's like there is such a need to connect, that when we find somebody that is, let's say a few bars above everybody else that you've been dating, we latch on and we convince ourselves that this is the person and there is nobody else and that's it. I don't know about you guys, but there are many times where I will meet somebody for the first time, and this is pretty much when I was single, right? I would meet somebody for the first time, and we would have like a 5-minute conversation, and they didn't know it, but we were already married. We had kids. We bought a house. Um, my videographer is laughing, but it's so true. Um, and that was like the fantasy that I created in my head because I felt a connection. And I had to really take a step back and go, hold up a minute. This feels not okay to be doing this. But at the end of the day, it's because I was desperately craving stability and connection and chemistry and healthy dynamics and all of those types of things, because my experience dating in the queer community was very inconsistent. It was very up and down. The one thing that was consistent was not actually finding somebody who was willing to commit to a relationship. That was what was consistent. Actually, there's a lot of people who are committed to not being committed in the queer community, which is an interesting fact. So if you are one of them, guess what? You can't commit to something. So check yourself. But I say all of that because the desire to connect can sometimes be so deep that we ignore the red flags and we don't allow time to do what it does. We don't allow ourselves the space to really get to know somebody and develop a deeper connection with them before moving forward to the next steps. So if this is you and you are looking for a long-term relationship, if you're trying to figure out the differences between infatuation and love, every relationship has a honeymoon phase. And I think that's usually the difficult part, to differentiate between infatuation and the blossomings or the beginnings of love. And the solution to that is time. Take your time. You don't have to rush into anything. You don't have to feel forced to commit to anything. And hold on, before y'all come for me, What I mean by that is, yes, you are committing to getting to know this person and dating this person, and eventually it moves to exclusivity and then an official title of a relationship and all of those things. What I am saying is, you don't have to meet somebody and within 48 hours, you're already in a committed relationship. That is too fast. If that is the case and that's what your pattern of behavior has been, it's something to reflect on and ask yourself why you feel the need to rush into a relationship so quickly. I hope you guys found that helpful. I hope you found this episode to be informative or educational. I don't even know if I want to say inspirational or whatever, but either way, I hope you got something from it. Please make sure you are filling out the poll. I love to add polls to the end of each one of my episodes. If you have any comments, leave your comments. Let me know whether you like the episode or not. Obviously, I love engaging with you guys. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Like I said, if you want to reach out to me, if you feel like you need some coaching or some support, that is what I do. I help people all the time who are in similar situations as yourself if you are watching this episode. So I will provide all of my contact information for you guys in the bio. I have multiple different platforms. I have my TikTok, my Instagram, the website, the YouTube channel, all of that stuff. So you can find me everywhere on the internet. You might have to search a little bit though, but you can find me. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Thank you for sitting down and having a little chat with me, and I will see you guys in the next episode.